Hey everyone, happy Christmas. So it's up for actually Magnus Carlsen. Magnus Carlsen, the reigning kind of modern chess, a five-time world champion and an icon revered by millions, is at the center of the most shocking controversies in chess history. Actually, imagine this the World Rapid and Bridge Chess Championship 2024, the stage where the world's greatest minds crash suddenly actually loses its most prominent the most prominent star, not because of blunder on the board but because of genes. Yes, you heard it right. Magnus Carlsen, a man who has dominated chess for actually over a decade, was disqualified from the tournament of wearing jeans and apparent violations of FIDE's dress code. And if that wasn't enough, Magnus' fiery response to the controversy has ignited a storm across the chessboard. Uh, in an unfiltered post-match interview with GothamChess, Magnus didn't actually hold back. He bluntly told Philip fuck you, expressing his frustration with that many are calling an overly rigid and archaic rules. This incident has split the chess community. Some argue that rules are rules, while others are rallying behind actually Magnus calling for an overhaul of FIDE's regulations. But this is more than just a dress code violation. This is a moment that challenges the very culture and traditions of chess. Are we witnessing a turning point into the sport, or we're actually further double down on its stance? But before all, we are know the drama unfolded. Magnus had already given us a masterclass on the board in round 6, 7, and 8. Today we are going to actually break down those electrifying games where Magnus took on some of the actually sharpest minds in chess, including actually Brewington Hardaway, Daniel Dardha, and Aryan Tari. If we will dive deep into the strategies he employed from the English opening Neo-Catalan and to the also in the last game Philidor Defense, we will see. Uh, and okay, so of course you must just sit tight, and because this isn't just a chess video, this is the story of one of the actually greatest chess players in history, standing in his ground against the very organization that governs that game he rose. Let's dive into the games, the controversy, and everything in between. So, please, if you haven't sub to the channel, please make sure that you have sub to the channel, and that would be just very encouraging for me. And give the thumbs up and like this video actually, and please comment on this video. We will have this round 6 game from Carlsen versus, as I just told you earlier, his opponent Hardaway Brewington. So Carlsen is having white pieces and his opponent is playing black. So let's jump into the game and see what happens. We have knight f3, knight f6, and after the move c4, we see e6, g3, and d5. So this is getting to the actually English opening because white has just played the move c4. And after the move d5, we see bishop to g2 and we see d4. So the move d3 is getting played. We see c5, so just black wants this kind of a structure into the center, and white just controls the d5 square, so we can just prevent knight jump to d5. Here we see e4, so his opponent can actually take en passant, which is a nice move, but he decides to play knight c6. This is actually English opening. This is the Neo-Catalan, I believe. Yes, this is the Neo-Catalan. And we see pawn push from Magnus. So e5 hitting the knight. And here knight e7. In this position, black wants to actually pressure this pawn on e5. So white should just defend this pawn by playing queen to e2 and bishop to f4, which actually Magnus did in this game. We see queen to e2, queen to c7, so putting another pressure, so there are 3 pressure already on this pawn, and should be just defended 3 times also. So bishop to f4 just defends this pawn, and here we have the move h6 with the plan of g5. So Magnus plays the move h4 to prevent any g5, I guess. So h4, and we have b6. So black wants to play bishop to b7 to control this diagonal here. Knight to d2, knight bd2 is played, then we may in future see just castle and decide where knight wants to go, because if you play knight to e4, maybe you're just hanging the pawn on e5, so that should be a careful move which you want to make, because this pawn is quite weak if one of the defenders just gets disappeared. So we have bishop b7 and now the move a3. So a3, now maybe knight to e4 is a plan, but we see bishop to e7, and here we see h4, h5, knight to e4, if knight c takes on e5, knight takes on e5, and knight takes back, then maybe we can just castle this way, and in future maybe queen to h5 is possible to put pressure on this, because you can't play f6, so this is just pinned. But queen to h5 now just hangs this check and you're just completely lost in this position. So that's why castling is possible, and now we are just threatening the move queen to h5. But that didn't happen in the game, and actually Magnus played the move h5. See h5. Now just play castle. Maybe this castle here was kind of risky, but we have maybe here the move g4, and I don't know what happens in this position, but it seems that black can actually take this because this bishop is just unprotected, and it seems like this is just, but this just opens this line, so you must be careful about this also. You can't play this because it takes, and when you take, just it takes this. So g5 is not possible at the moment. But okay, let's go back to the main line. H5, as I just told you, and now here I just said that he just castled the black just castled queen side. We have another actually a strange move by Magnus, king to f1. He was actually intending to actually protect his bishop on g2, so that's why king to f1, because now the king is just calling the bishop. Okay, so we see rook d to g8, so opponent wants to just use this while if it gets opened. We have knight to e4, and after knight c takes on e5, knight takes on e5, knight takes back, and here the move b4 was played, so Magnus is just trying to open this fires, but his rook is completely blocked by the king, so he should do something about it. We see f5. f5 was actually a blunder. He could have actually played f6 to just defend this knight. But after f6, maybe b5 could be just played. But after bishop to d8, no, maybe white can play a4, a5 to just open these fires. So a4, and after rook to e8, a5, and takes, and here we see king to g1. So actually, black if somehow tries to go here, then rotates on a5 is possible, I believe, because if you take, we have knight to d6 check. And after king to d7, we have this idea of knight takes on b7, and for example, if you play something like here, I believe we have got king to h2, and now j1 rotates the pawn is another issue for black. So that was an interesting line I just showed you. But here we see, as I told you, the move f5, not the move f6. So f5, knight takes on c5, we see a nice tactic. So here we see why Magnus just played king to f1, because he wanted to protect his bishop on g2. After bishop takes on g2, king takes on g2, we see check from Magnus, and here after f3, knight takes on f3, queen takes on d6. So queen takes on a6, knight takes on e6, we see knight to g5, and here rook h to e1 was played. We see knight takes on a6, a better move for black was actually bishop to f6. So maybe he can play king to d7, but actually in the main game knight takes on e6, rook takes on e6, and here he played, and here he actually mistakenly played king to d7. Bishop f6 was the best move, but doesn't make any sense. We have king to d7 now. After rook 8 1, we have rook to e8 defending the bishop, and after rook to e5, rook 1 to e5, we see bishop f6, rook takes on d8, rook takes on d8, and we have exchanges of the rook. And here Magnus is just better because he has actually white in the right pawns, but here is the dark bishop. So this bishop cannot attack this pawns, but he should just take care about this. So as I just said, Magnus just fixes this structure, and now he can easily attack these pawns on the dark square. So king to d7 tried, we have a4, king to e6, again another blunder, we see, should actually see bishop to e7, bishop to e5 would just come, and after something like this, I believe it's just still the position is running for white. Yeah, g takes on answer, king f3, we see something like this happen. And this is winning for white in this case, because after king to d6, we just play king to f3, computer says, which is actually a very hard move to find. It's actually black is in Zwitzerland, king to d7, and here king to e2. I see that, yes, so we are just bringing the king into c4 and taking those pawns. And at least this would be just a passer in the future. So, but let's go back to the actual main line, which was played in the game, king e6, we played bishop to b8, and after bishop to d8, we have takes on a7, and after this kind of moves, king takes on a4, but at this point, his opponent decides to resign. So this was actually game number 1. Yeah, game number. So actually, here we will have the actual game number 2, as I just told you. His opponent is Dardha, I believe, and he's playing with white pieces versus Magnus Carlsen with black pieces. So let's jump into the game and see what will happen. Please don't actually forget to give the thumbs up, like this video, and please also make sure that you have subbed to the channel. That would be just very encouraging. So let's begin. We have e4 d6, so Magnus went for the actually Philidor Defense by e4 d6. I have faced this opening in my chess student Olympiad, and I had a nice result against it. We see knight f6 from Magnus, knight c3, and here e5 from Magnus, knight to f3. So we are just threatening to take, and here opponents usually play this to protect this pawn. We see g3 and bishop e7, bishop to g2, and castles, so c6. We have a4, so we just push on the queen side here. We're playing the move a4. And here, usually white plays knight to h4 to just come with knight to f5, and maybe in future he wants to take or just bring other pieces to the attack. So g6 just stops any knight to f5 move, We have bishop to e3, rook to a8 and f4, and after bishop to a6, so Magnus is just hitting this rook. We have rook to e1, bishop to f8, and knight to f3. So after bishop to g7, d takes on e5, d takes on e5, we have move f5. So in future, his opponent just tried bishop to f1 to exchange this bishop and continue the game, which was actually inaccuracy. Queen to a7, and as I just told you, bishop to f1 was played. Better move could be just h3 with the plan of g4 and try to push this way. But as I just told you, bishop f1 was played in this game, and we see threat of bishops. Rook takes on f1, rook e8 d8, so Magnus is going to play knight c5, knight takes on, and attacking the queen. Okay, so we have knight d2. A better move actually was just the simple queen e2 move. Now knight to d2, knight to c4, or bishop to g5 is threatened. We see queen to g4 for Magnus, nice move. F takes on g6 was played. Oh, sorry, knight to d2 actually here. Here actually knight d2 was played from his opponent. And here we see queen to g4, yeah. And after rook to b1, from somehow inaccuracy move, f takes on g6 was the right move. After f takes on g6, we see queen to e2, and if just Magnus took on b2, then his opponent could play queen to c4. Now actually rook to a2 is just threatened here to just trap the queen. But let's go to the main line. Rook to b1 by the opponent. And then here we see knight to c5, and here queen to f3. Knight takes on a4 by Magnus. Knight takes on a4 was played, but here knight to a2 is also possible. After queen to f8, we see just the pawn push g4. So g5 and then f6 are threatened this position. But actually, let's go to the main line. Knight takes on a4, great. Queen takes on a4, and here we see b3. So he wants to take, and actually, he wants to actually play knight c4. Okay, he's threatening to take the queen, and after this, rook to f2. But this idea has some issue because of this move, I believe. Yeah, b5. And now if you just put your knight back, then he just takes this. Example here, this is just possible. So that's why knight to c4 was not played by his opponent. Instead we see rook to f2 defending this, because rook takes on d2 was possible. After bishop takes on d2, we see queen takes on d2, and we are just up material. So that's why actually Daniel plays rook to f2, defending the knight on d2. We see queen to c3, and after knight to f1. Now again queen to g4 was played by Magnus, and again repeating moves, but Magnus rejects by playing the move b5. So you can't take because you're just hanging your knight. Okay, like this. Okay, we're just hanging your knight this time. And we see instead bishop to g5. Now actually f takes on g6 is a threat because we can take on f6. So rook to d6 was played. So to unpin, we have the move c3. So hitting the h3 queen here. We see queen to a5. Here knight to f1. Knight f1 was an inaccuracy. You could actually play b4 after queen to a2. We see rook to d1. And here actually knight to f1 is a huge threat because we see this attacking this and this. For example, if you play something like this, then knight f1 just simply loses the game for black because your queen is under attack and your rook is under attack at the same time. You don't have this taking the check because knight f1 just blocks this actually backrank check. So after queen to c2, the game actually could continue, but we see knight to f1 now, and here we see h6 from Magnus. A better move for him was just to take on f5 after queen takes on f5, queen takes c3, everything is good for black. But instead we see h6, so bishop takes on f6, bishop takes on f6, then we see b4, queen c7, and knight to e3. So white actually wants bf1. In this position, black plays Magnus plays the move h5, so bishop to g5 is somehow an idea because of rook to f6, and maybe in future we can take on e3. Now we see rook b12 1 from Daniel, and after rook e to d8 we see h4, queen to e7. So queen to e7 wants actually maybe bishop to g7 idea, and we don't have f6 because we just take, okay, with the rook. But here we see, okay, king to h1 from Daniel, and another blunder. He could have actually played the move c4 to actually c takes on b5. If you take, and now you can jump on this white square. But if you play something like h6, then at c5 is now just played, and after rook to d3, queen to e2. Believe it or not, this position is slightly better for white. He takes it, and we see this nice idea, knight to d5 move. So we just disrupting, actually interrupting the defender of the rook, and we are also attacking the queen on a7, and we are just winning the train stand by just something like this happens. This position is actually you can't take because of I believe bishop to e3. This is just a pin, and the game maybe is equal now, but we can actually play f6. But let's go back to the main game here. After queen to e7, we saw actually king to h1, king to h7, and after the move g4, we see just taking down h4. So rook to h2, just opens this. We see g5, and here move f6. Queen to e6, rook takes on h4, g takes on h4, and here we see g5 from the opponent. King to g8, nice move, and after knight to f5, we see this blunder, rook 6 to d7. A terrible move and terrible play from Daniel. He just got feared and was scared, I believe. The best move here was just rook to d3. If queen takes on h5, then you just give this check, and after this, Then we have rook dd3 and a3. White should be much careful because queen to a2 is just coming. For example, if you try to mate, then queen to a2. If you go here, then here. If you take, this is just nice mates here, or this. But actually, in the game, his opponent just Daniel just was frightened and played rook c6 to d7, and that was Magnus win it easy. Queen takes on h5, queen to c4, attacking this and this at the same time. We see nice, not very nice, king to g1. Instead, Magnus actually could play rook to f2, but this is very hard to see. If you play something like this, then this queen takes on c3 is also possible because you are just giving this cage here. But actually we see king to g1 and here queen takes on e4. We see knight check on h6 after king to f8, knight to 5. Just Magnus is just trying to mate. We see king to g8 again, and knight to h6, repeating moves. And here, after the knight to f5, the game was drawn. So that was a very bad miss by world champion this game. But we all know the actually matter, which was actually genius. So here we have the game number. Okay, here we have in the game number 3 in the round 8, which was the last round actually Magnus played. Okay. Okay, that was very sad story. But okay, let's see the last game from Magnus. We see knight to f3, so Magnus is going for the red opening. We have d5, e3, and knight to f6, b3. Magnus is having actually white pieces and Tari black pieces. He's playing Aryan Tari, Iranian player. Bishop to e2, and here we see h6. So bishop to a3. So this is just very unusual opening. Okay, in the red opening. Bishop to a3. Okay, he actually wants to actually exchange these bishops. I see the idea, but this was kind of strange. Knight b d7. We see now c4. So c taking on d5 is possible. So that's why e6 was played. Now we see actually trade actually which Magnus wanted. We see knight takes on f8. So don't take with the king because our king will be just on castle till the end of the game. So knight takes on f8. This we see. And here castles by Magnus. We see it again coming back at f3 d7. And here we Magnus just took on d5. We see it taking on e5 by the pawn. Actually, this was also possible to take with the knight. Anyway, e takes on d5 was played, and after the move b4, Magnus wants to push b5 and something like this. He wants knight to c3 instead. We see c6 and queen to b3. b5 actually was a pawn hit by Magnus. Nice. And actually, after queen to a5, we see rook after c1. So here, knight to d4 is very nice. Is a threat. You actually couldn't actually completely play this because here he had knight to c5. Okay, and actually after queen to b2, maybe this move, but here the issue queen to b1, and here your bishop is also unprotected. Anyway, let's go to the main line. We see rook f to c1, and here knight e to c8. Sorry, knight to c5, knight c5, and here queen to d1. And after knight b6, we see b takes on c6, b takes on c6, and queen to a4. So Magnus wants to actually trade queens, so this pawn is just a backward pawn and can be easily threatened. We see queen b6, so Aryan Tari rejects queen exchange. Queen b6, we see d4, and after the move a5, we see queen to d1 from Magnus. Instead, he actually could have tried queen to b3 once more to just exchange queen and make Aryan Tari just to go queen to c7 or queen to d8. Queen c7 is not possible because you just fall into this. Knight to b5, yeah, knight to b5. But after queen to e7, to e5 was also possible. So and queen 7 just would take, yeah. So that's why, and actually Magnus didn't play this, played instead queen to d1, you see. And after knight to d7, knight to a4, b7, rook, bishop to d3, we see exchange of bishops. And here queen to b4 attacking the knight. We see queen to d1. So Magnus in this game played a lot of queen to d1 to just defend and attack, of course. So here he is just attacking this. So here we see rook e to c8 defending the pawn. We see rook a to b8, a to b1 attacking the queen. And after queen to d6, we see knight to b6, which was actually not a good move. Instead, Magnus could play knight to e5, sacrificing this pawn for temporarily. I mean, after this, we have this, okay, and we are just forking. Actually, we could play this to actually decoy the knight and actually have a nice position here. But instead we see knight to b6, knight takes b6, rook takes on b6, and here we see another blunder from Aryan Tari. He plays queen to a3, so he's just attacking this pawn, but after completely ignoring the threat h3, so if he not takes on a2, then we have this nice rook to a1, and we are just trapping the queen. If you play something like this, then knight to e5 also attacks. If you play this, then rook to b3 comes. Now this queen is completely trapped. So that's why queen takes on a2 was not possible here. And here we see c5 from Aryan Tari. So actually, this queen move was just redundant move, and he was attacking anything. He wasn't attacking anything. So after the move c5, we see rook to b3 attacking the queen. We see naturally queen to a4. After takes on c5, rook takes on c5. A better move was just actually just not to take, because after was actually rook to rook a6. But who praised this move actually after the move c5? We see rotate c5, rotate c5, knight takes c5, and here queen takes on d5, rook to c8, defending the knight on c5. So here we see pin, and after queen to b4, we see just rook to c1 going back, and here the knight to e5 is threatened, knight to d3, knight e5, knight d3, or just knight to d7 are threatened, and here we also have this nice threat. So queen to a3 attacks this rook once more, but we see rook to c4, and queen takes on a2, rook takes on c5, tactical shot. After queen to b1 check, a hopeless check, king to a2. If you just keep this check, it doesn't make difference. We just play the move g3 and we are just up a piece. Rotate c5, queen takes on c5, then pawn push a4. We see knight to d4 and queen to b2. So a3 is the Aryan Tari threat. We see check on c8. After king to h7, we see queen straight now from Magnus, which actually ends the game. So that's it. All I covered round 6, round 7, round 8, plus the actually Magnus Carlsen controversies on the genes. It was a shocking event for me. It was very shocking. I couldn't breathe, and I'm just still processing this. Be sure actually to give the thumbs up, actually like this video, and please also make sure that you have subbed to the channel, and actually subbing to the channel will just give me a lot of energy. Sorry, I was actually a little sick. I have a sore throat, so that's why I'm just speaking like this. So see you next time. Bye for now.